pushing us to our limits and sometimes beyond. On occasion it feels like whiplash. But what was it that the rubber band thing?
I think of my body as a rubber band. If you keep pulling it the same way, eventually it's going to snap. But if you pull it in different directions all the time, you have a very strong rubber band.
Hello, my name is Peter Stark. I'm the director of the Rock School, and welcome to another episode of Rock Run-Throughs. And today I am delighted to welcome two Rock School graduates and principal dancers with Pacific Northwest Ballet, Sarah, Gabrielle Ryan, and Kyle Davis. Sarah and Kyle, it's great to have you here.
My name is Sarah Gabrielle Ryan, and I'm currently a principal dancer with Pacific Northwest Ballet.
My name is Kyle Davis, and I am currently a principal dancer with Pacific Northwest Ballet. I'm originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I started dance with the Green Bay Parks and Recreations Department and eventually became a competition dancer. I was really good at tap, but terrible at jazz. When I was around 10-ish, I started taking ballet. The studio I went to was about a 40-mile drive away in a basement under a coffee shop. It was time to go away, and I did a year here at the Rock School, and then I spent 2 years at North Carolina School of the Arts before joining PNB in 2008.
I started when I was 3 years old, so I was at a local dance studio. I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, and it was comp, like I was a comp kid. Ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, everything. But I took ballet really seriously, and eventually my teacher was like, if you want her to have like real ballet training, send her to the Rock School. Full Rock School baby from really, really tiny, with Miss Gina. Miss Gina was my first teacher here, and it's so crazy to see that she's like still here teaching.
We joke about this.
I remember him, he doesn't remember me, but that's fine.
Yeah, so coming out of Green Bay and not really knowing, small town, not really knowing a whole lot about the greater dance world. And everyone was telling me, oh, well, if you're gonna leave home, the place to go is SAB. That is the hub of American dance. And I did the audition. It went great. I got chased down the hallway, being told, where's your parents? Where's your parents? We want you to go. They gave me everything that I needed to go to the summer course. So I thought, okay, they must like me. This is gonna be a great thing. And I had to start the summer course. I sign up, I say I want to stay for the year, and nobody comes to talk to me. They're accepting other people, and eventually I just knock on the door at the office and I go, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, no, not you. I had sort of put all my eggs in this one basket because I didn't know better. Very last minute, I had to send audition materials out, and I sent my stuff to the Rock. And back then you had to put everything in on VHS and put it in an envelope and actually use the mail system. But it got here, they watched it, and got a phone call less than a week later. We want you. We can give you a scholarship.
That's awesome.
And then I moved into the Marine Club.
Kyle had to move away from home a lot younger in order to keep his training up, but I always had this, so I never had to leave home. And I had attended a summer course like the summer before, and I just fell in love with PNB. I loved Peter Bowl, I loved the environment, Seattle's beautiful, and it felt right. But it was definitely a challenge moving away from somewhere where I was really comfortable. I had a huge support system.
Family.
A lot of family, but
Yeah, I mean, at PNB, Peter has done a really incredible job, I think, of pulling from repertoire all over the world and pushing us to our limits and sometimes beyond. On occasion, it feels like whiplash. But what was it that the rubber band thing?
I think of my body as a rubber band. If you keep pulling it the same way, eventually it's going to snap. But if you pull it in different directions all the time, you have a very strong rubber band.
So I've been at PNB for 17 years, and I've gotten to do virtually every ballet I wanted to do, and a whole slew of ballets I never expected.
Yeah,
We've been talking a lot about this recently on our own, just about how lucky we feel that we were trained in a variety of styles, not just that we grew up doing jazz, tap, ballet, but even in ballet, we experienced teachers that were not of the same upbringing, and they gave us all the information that they had about what they knew, and we've been able to sort of pull from that and piece together how we want to dance, and it's made us adaptable.
But that came from training here, I think. Like, we had so many different, you're right, I had Miss Eager, and then I had Marilena, and I also had Justin. I was like here right when he was starting all his choreography too, which also pushed us in a different way. And they were all really different, but it never felt like overly stylized to me. Everyone just had a base, like core foundation of technique. And it made it so that we could go in whatever direction we wanted. And I think even my class here, some of us went more bouncing direction, like PNB, New York City Ballet, and then some are in ABT in San Francisco and Houston, Boston.
But I do think my favorite thing about this school was
no way of doing something was ever considered wrong.
Company class at PNB is a lot more relaxed than any school class. And when I first joined PNB, that was a shock to me. I was like, oh, why aren't we taking this more seriously? And so I would go and I would take school class instead. And we had that option because in the company classes is optional. There's a trust there that you are going to maintain your technique. There's a trust there. And I think that's a challenging part when you first join a company.
Making the adjustment. I think what's interesting though is I never actually think of company class, especially Peters, as like less serious than a school. I think what they're encouraging is different. I feel like in a school, it's really like land your pirouettes and finish, and you're aiming for like the highest technical quality. And I feel like when we're in Peter's class, he's like, I want to see you go for it. Like, if you're gonna fall over, it's fine. I'd rather see you go for what I'm asking and mess up than see you try to be perfect.
We were working with a choreographer, Donald Bird, and he said to us in rehearsal that each rehearsal is to find every way that you can mess up, so that when you're on stage, nothing surprises you. And I feel like that's a little bit Peter's class. He wants you to risk failure.
Take risks.
So that you can succeed. For
Yeah.
17 years that I've been there, he has taught twice a week without fail. I did YGP, I did the Prix de Lausanne. I think that the two most important things for me that came out of competitions, I might go to three. Working one-on-one with a coach and being given that knowledge, I think might be the most important thing. The performance experience. Win, lose, doesn't matter. If you fall, it doesn't matter. It's being out on stage, being under the lights.
Under pressure.
Under pressure.
Yeah.
That is never trained in the studio. Important thing.
Well,
There's
and seeing who else is out there.
The
Like, you
networking.
get so in
Yeah.
a bubble sometimes, and then you go and you see what other schools are doing or other dancers, and you're like, whoa.
My first ballet competition was the Youth America Grand Prix, the Chicago Regional, and I was the Junior Youth Grand Prix winner. And then when I was here at the Rock School, I did the USA IBC. And then after I had left the Rock School and I was at North Carolina School of the Arts, I did the Prix de Lausanne and was a prize winner there. So I sort of had my choice. I chose the Royal Ballet. I had the contract, I had the visa, and having grown up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, having never been to England, I didn't know anybody in the city, I didn't know anybody in the company. Trying to find a place to live in London was very challenging. It sort of became too overwhelming and I stepped away from it. I picked up the phone. I had done the summer course at P&B the summer prior. I picked up the phone and I called the front desk at P&B, and I don't
know if this still works anymore.
yeah, it probably doesn't. So I don't know who exactly was working that day, but I called the front desk at P&B and I go, "Hi, my name is Kyle Davis. I was a student here. Can I talk to Peter Ball?" And whoever was at the front desk said, "Okay." Just passed me through. And he answered the phone. And I go, "Hi, Peter, this is Kyle Davis. I hope you remember me." And he did. He did. Contracts available for the upcoming season. And this was, I think, it was July. And he goes, "Well, I'd love to have you dance here, but the season starts in a month. All the contracts are out." And I go, "Oh, well, that's too bad." And he goes, "Okay, well, just give me 24 hours. And so he called me back the next morning, and he goes, "All right, I talked to the board. We have a position." And I think one of the things that ended up being sort of like a silver lining of it, I guess, very early in my career, I started losing feeling in both legs from the knee down. I had to see a whole bunch of doctors, and eventually they diagnosed it, and I had chronic exertional compartment syndrome in both legs, both sides of the leg, and the major nerve that ran down the back of the leg was entrapped. And it turned out that there were only 2 people at the time in the world that really focused on this type of injury, and it's something that you have to have the genetic predisposition for. So whether I was dancing in England or dancing in Seattle, it would have happened. And the 2 specialists in the world, one was in Madison, Wisconsin, which was not far from home, and the other was in Milan. And I think I know that if I was in England and this had happened, I would have had to go home, and I'm not sure there would have been a job to go back to. But being in Seattle, Peter was very caring and supportive. He never at any point did I feel that my job was at risk, even though I was out for 13 months.
I auditioned for PMB when the company was on tour in New York in 2016, I believe. And I was in there for morning class, and I'm telling one of the dancers, I was like, "Oh, I know him." I overlapped with him in Philadelphia for a year or so. I don't know. I just knew that I had been at the school with you. And I remembered him, his face, and this friend goes, "Oh, Kyle." And Kyle has his headphones on. He's pulling out a bar.
Very early in the morning.
It was not that early. And he's pulling out the bar. And Kyle looks over, he takes his headphones off, and he's like, "What?" And the friend's like, "Oh, do you remember Sarah? She says she remembers you." And he goes, "No." And he puts his headphones back on, and he starts pulling the bar out. But it was only frustrating because we also have Elizabeth Murphy, who's a principal at PMB,
who lived across the hall from me in the Marine Club here.
Immediately, she was like, "Oh my goodness, I remember you." And so I was like, see, people do remember me. But we eventually we started partnering more, hanging out more as friends, and now we're married.
Yep.
It's about this.
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to be doing more work at the front of the studio. I teach company class at P&B. I have been choreographing for a number of years on my own, but I wanted to keep moving in that direction. And I'd done a few of Alexei's ballets, and I was talking to Sarah, and I was like, maybe I'll ask him if he needs help on something, but I don't know. And she goes, just ask him, just send him a message. And she got sick of me contemplating it, and just do it. So I did, and I was like, "Hi, if you need somebody, think about me." And he answered back pretty immediately. It was like, "I need someone now."
He was like, "Emergency, come."
And it was to go and assist him on a new full length in Munich at Versatility Ballet. And I was like, "Okay, well, I have to." I said, I'll talk to Peter. I'll make it happen. And Peter, it was mid-season at P&B, and Peter was like, I mean, yes, but no, but yeah. He wanted me to have the experience, but he also knew that there was rep that I needed to be doing. So there was a little bit back and forth, and eventually, I think Alexei was in the subway in New York, called Peter and said, "I need him," and that was settled. So I went. I was there for, I think, 9 weeks. It was so incredibly exciting to be working with Alexei every day in the studio, watching the creation process from the front of the room, trying to, manage and maintain every single step of the ballet for every dancer, and sort of be an aid and a resource to Alexei for what was that version from 3 weeks ago, and be able to recall it. Yeah, it was just an incredible thing, and get the ballet up on stage, watch the premiere. It was an incredible project to be a part of, and I guess I did well enough in the role that he asked me back again, and I went with him to Teatro alla Scala in Milan and helped him in the creation process of a brand new Coppelia. And now in a couple weeks, I will be going with him on another full length in Copenhagen at Royal Danish. Alexei he's always, I think, sought to learn. And so he has that that Russian training. He went to America and to Canada and was at Royal Winnipeg, and he learned a different style there. Then he went to Copenhagen at Royal Danish and he learned another style there. And he was always, I think, trying to
Wanting more.
pull everything together and get the big picture, and that comes through in his choreography. He's extremely knowledgeable just about ballet. I think does really appreciate American dancers in the speed, the sort of attack, the clarity, there's a certain drive that he asks for.
The technical foundation is always the same, and then Alexei's really good at describing the style he wants for the piece, because Pictures is very different from Wartime Elegy,
Yeah.
It's very different from the Coppelia that he made, and I feel like he's good at creating a world, and whatever world you're in, the style changes, and he'll describe it with just a slight tilt of the head, or wanting a soda-bosk a certain way, and Peter's interesting too, because I think he also enjoys learning those things, because he saw Alexei was having us do a certain step, and then he was like, "Oh, let's do those in class. That looks fun." So I think they actually are quite similar in that sense. Also, the way that Alexei really pushes us, and he kind of makes you do things that you didn't think you were going to be able to do, I feel like falls in line with Peter going, "Just go for it."
The thing that I think is most interesting about Alexei's choreography is that there are these moments that aren't technical. They're just purely human. He'll take a very pedestrian action and make it dance. And you create these very real world scenarios on stage. And I think it's very captivating.
PMB's always been very helpful we have a second stage fund that kind of helps us take our next steps of what we want to do once this career is over. So they have a partnership with Seattle University, and then they can also help you just whatever school route you want to go through. So we were actually doing it through AGMA, our union, but we're both trying to get a business degree. We just choreographed our joint piece in June. I feel like my real dream, I'd just love to be a stager, because I have never forgotten a single piece of choreography that I've ever learned, and it's actually really annoying.
Yeah, you are amazing. You remember all the steps. You can turn on a tune that for whatever piece, and she can just do it.
Miss Ziegler used to teach us twice a week. In the first class, she would give us the class, and then the second, 2 days later, she'd be like, "Okay, who remembers Plies? Who remembers Tendus?" And whoever remembered it got to show it, so everybody wanted to remember. But I was like, "You were training our brains, and we didn't even know."
Well, Sarah and Kyle, I want to thank you both for coming today. and it was a great talk. You can find more about the Rock School if you visit www.therockschool.org. And we have a great social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course here on YouTube. See you next time. Bye-bye.